Hello, everyone. I'm probably like a few seconds early, but that's okay. I want you guys to get into the room. I'm also going to share it to my other page. I'm excited about today. I think had I let you all know that I was going to have a special guest today, and we do. And so I definitely want to make sure. Uh, I definitely want to make sure that I introduce my guest, but I want you guys to get here. So I'm going to still share this with my Paris Johnson page because I know everybody's not on this one. But as you're coming in, please say hello. Let me actually put this up for you guys to remind you. I'm streaming on StreamYard. This is my second time doing this, I think. Second time. And you guys have to, if you want me to see your comments, I need you to go ahead and it's a little link I just put in there. Click on the link. I think it's streamyard.com/Facebook. If you click on that link, we'll be able to see your comments. I'm gonna try to look up, but I want to make sure that we're able to see it so we can respond to your comments. So when you come in, please say hey. I'm gonna give you guys a second to come in. Here we go. Okay. All right. Okay. I shared it to my page. I'm streaming live from YouTube and I'm streaming live from Facebook Live on my Conversations from Paris page. I just shared it to my Paris Johnson page for a lot of people you know me from there. So I'm gonna just get started. I don't know who all can see me. Like I said, if you guys see my comment I put in here about clicking on the grant them permission so we can see your name. Otherwise, I'm gonna try to keep I'm gonna try to pull it up so I can see the comments on my phone. But anyway, today is a great day. I'm so excited to have one of my friends. Okay, so I got somebody to listen to me. Jillian, hey girl.
Oh, hey Jill. Thanks for the cup. She brought me a cup and it says Black Psychologist. Thank you.
Listen, I knew she made it for you. I happen to know. I said, I know she made it.
I love her. She does all my designs and stuff.
Dope. That is so dope. I appreciate Jillian. So, okay, so y'all saw that. So anybody else, if you guys can go ahead and click on that link so that we can see your comments, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm going to try to pull it up so I can see it anyway. But anyway, so let's get into it. I'm so excited. I have my friend, her name is Lynn Murphy. And it's funny because, you have somebody that you always kind of, you talk to them and everything just seems like it clicks. And I'm like, you know what? I need this girl. I need her to come and talk. And I know she went to school, but I didn't really remember because we served together at our church. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know what she did. And she told me that she went to school for psychology. I said, oh, okay. I didn't know that. And so the more that we got to talk, it was like, I said, you know what, I definitely need Lynn to come on over and to share. And so I'm going to give you some information about her. Lynn is a media psychologist. And you know what? I'm the worst person right now. I can't really find all the information. So instead of doing all that, I'm going to just introduce her as Lynn. She's going to come on. We're just having a conversation. You guys know I sometimes like to bring people on so that you don't just hear me talk, and so that you have a different point of view. And so today we're going to talk about relationship red flags from a mental health point of view. I think it's important. We're not coming on here to say that, we're giving any type of advice or any type of any information per se that is like a therapy session, but we are saying we're having a conversation. And as we talk about it, hopefully we provide some clarity. So Lynn, I'm so grateful to have you to come on. Thank you for agreeing to this.
No problem, Paris. You know I love you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I'm
sorry, go ahead.
I just said I'm so excited. So you just go take the floor. I just introduce you. You are I'm appreciative that you came on today.
No problem. I love mental health. As you stated, I am a media psychologist, and a lot of people don't know what that is, but it's just the study of how technology impacts the mind. And I am working on developing treatment centers for digital detoxing, but that's a whole nother thing. I am in school with in a doctoral program to become licensed. So thank you for having me here. And I do appreciate the disclaimer. So this is just a guide. This is not a therapy session. It is really just a conversation with Paris.
Yes. And I'm glad that you came on. So, so the way we're going to do this today is I love when people are like professional and just have all these stuff together. Lynn, she has a whole list of stuff that she wanted to talk about. So I'm going to let her have the floor. And then once she starts talking about everything, then I'm going to go ahead and pull it back, give some questions and kind of expound. I want to just say hi to some people before we keep going. Hey, Julia. And anybody else is on it, I don't see you guys. Just, hey to you. And I'm going to let Lynn have the floor. Lynn, did you, real quick before we go, did you share this on your page now that we're live?
Let me see. Let me go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you can go. Do you have, are you on your phone?
No, I'm on my laptop, but I just shared it.
Okay, cool. So that means that your people will see it as well. Okay, so Lynn, I'm gonna give you the floor. Go ahead, girl.
All right. So I love to discuss red flags in relationships. I think a lot of times these are things that people fall in love with unknowingly. So I want to start off by saying behavior patterns. Why do we ignore these? Jobs ask for resumes. And I think that in dating, you should definitely check their dating resume. What's their dating life been like? And that's something that we really don't do. If you guys are out there, how often do you ask people for their dating history?
And any of you guys can answer that. It's funny that you said that because I don't think we do it enough, or if we do it, we feel guilty for doing it, right? People make you feel guilty for asking these type of questions, but you're saying we actually should ask for the dating history.
Oh, definitely. I think it'll help gauge what type of behaviors they have, and you'll be able to see them too while you're dating, because we're people of patterns, people of habits. So that's something that I don't believe anybody should ignore. Yes, people can overcome them; they can come back from anything, but there also needs to be a pattern of that as well, right? I shouldn't say you shouldn't. I wouldn't want to be someone that's being practiced on, right? Like they're just coming out of a bad habit and now they want to practice with you. Maybe not. That's a red flag,
That's good. Can I put a pin in that? Sure. But you said you need to know what people's background is because you don't want them to come out of something fresh and be practicing on you.
Right.
That's good. And we often call that like rebound or whatever. Yeah. I think it's really good to talk about it in that way. Like, if somebody just got out of a really crazy relationship 2 months ago, and that should be a red flag to you,
Yeah.
And it's not bad to want to know about that so you can understand the headspace they're in, right?
Right. But and also a series of short relationships. Right. So they don't have any long-term relationships. Everything is 4 months, 6 months, nearly a year, all red flags.
Ooh, okay. Okay. So a series of short-term relationships. Now, can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So with the short-term relationships, is it over a certain amount of time or is it ever, right? Do you mean like, okay, if somebody is hopping from relationship to relationship to relationship, or is it you're saying that, okay, the person never had a relationship longer than 2 years? Like but it's over the span of their life. And so is both a red flag, or is one or the other more of a red
I
flag?
would say definitely both are red flags. One that you're describing is like a serial dater, right? So they're going relationship, 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 relationship. That's a serial dater. Um, just a few over a long period of time. Um, that's not horrible, but what evidence do they have that they know how to commit?
Mm.
Right. So for me, it's like, what's the fear there? It's the underlying fear. But
Mm.
we'll get into that. Well,
We'll
there's
get
something
into
that
that.
goes into,
Okay. All right.
into
I
that.
told you I can come in. So you just go. Don't leave space. Okay. Don't leave space. But this is getting good already. Okay. Keep going.
So here's another one, love at first sight. Everybody talks about it, everybody wants it, right? But for me, when I hear that, when I see that, it's like it's a sign that the person has some unmet emotional or physical needs, right? When I say physical, like they're homeless, or they don't have a car, just something where they need that need met immediately. So now it's love at first sight.
Wow. So not real love at first sight.
Not the real stuff.
This is somebody that's trying to fulfill an immediate need through the mask of love at first sight. That's
Right.
so you get your caution. You throw caution to the wind when somebody says love at first sight, when there's an underlying issue that they're masking.
Right.
I often say to somebody, when people rush, when they move so fast, so usually they're trying to like hide something. They want they want your emotions to move before your mind can catch up with it.
Right.
So yeah, that's good.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That's definitely something people should watch out for. And there's nothing wrong with love at first sight, but you can't abandon logic, right? So some things need to be addressed. Those hard questions still need to be asked.
Yeah, yeah, and you should not shy away from a conversation just because it might be uncomfortable if you tap into something. Do you say that because some people think you're prying, right? When you meet somebody and you say something and they say something that kind of causes for pause and you ask a question. I have in the past been admitted of like, oh, you just really want to be in my business, and I'm thinking, door. And I walked in because I feel like it's a door that I want to know about since you brought it up. Is that something that you should shy away from if that person doesn't feel comfortable? Or should you say, well, you know what, if I'm trying to get to know you, it's important that since you brought it up, it's on the table?
Right. I think that when we forget that when we're getting to know people, like we have to open up our lives to them, especially if this is something that we're thinking, dating with a purpose of leading to marriage. So if you're dating without a purpose, this isn't for you. But if you're dating with a purpose, then yes, be open, be honest, ask those hard questions. And if they say you're prying, okay, that's fine, but ask them, why do they feel that way? Bring back the dating with a purpose. These are all the things that people need to know before going forward. A lot of questions can actually save time. I see my sister on there. Hey, Trina. Asking these hard questions can save you and save you some time. Because some people, they really won't open up. And is that somebody you want to be engaged to? Somebody you want to surrender your life over to?
That's good. And maybe that's also a little bit another of a red flag that they don't want you to go there. And is it a reason? Like if we're dating with the purpose, exactly like you said, why is it that you don't want this part to be open? Is there something there that I need to be concerned about? So
right.
That's good. Okay.
This next one is my favorite, right? Homebody. Someone that's a homebody and doesn't have any friends, right? For me, that screams social anxiety, trust, and abandonment issues. And those are things that people have to work out with the therapist, right? So why don't you have any friends?
Come on, sis. Sorry, I didn't mean to scream. I was trying to be professional, but you just hit on the mark. Come on, keep on. Ooh, this is good.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing. I mean, yes, we like our, partner to be home, and we know they're not out in the world being crazy and different things like that. But I mean, that isolation it really becomes a perversion, when you are taking it to the extreme. Like you need some friends, some accountability, something.
That's so good. Like you hit so much on the head. You said so much with one little sentence. You did, because I think that a lot of times, and I know I said I was gonna let you get through it. I apologize in advance. but I can't because I'm gonna forget unless I take notes, and then I'm not gonna seem like I'm attentive. But you hit so much on the head there because how often is it we always glorify the homebodies?
Mm-hmm.
By the people who say, "Oh, I got a man or I got a woman, and I just want to be at home. I don't want to do anything, and I just want to be here." But the reality is, they're not talking about the fact that they don't have the social component of their life in check,
Right.
so that they pull on the other person to fulfill it, and oftentimes they become they make this relationship an idol.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Or they make the process of getting in a relationship an idol because all I need is this person and everything is great and we're going to just stay in this house and do nothing with each other, and that is good, and I won't address the fact that I'm not comfortable interacting with people.
Yeah.
I'm not the fact that I don't have good social skills. I'm not the fact that I'm uncomfortable when you interact with somebody, and now there comes jealousy, there comes
a lot of stuff,
and even making that person an idol to the point where you make some toxic abusive mental and emotional things that come from that. And I see it so many times that people are like, oh, it's just me and Bae. It's just me and Bae.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that's a cover for their dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps going. It's a pattern. It's a circular pattern. So that's really good. I'm glad you brought that up. Most people don't talk about that.
Yeah, I always wonder, people don't have any friends. It's like, well, who do you trust? Who trusts you is usually if I'm dating, it's like, who trusts you? Somebody who trusts you, But
come on, sis.
A lot of people overlook. And sometimes it's under the guise of, just playing video games all day. They think that interacting with people, in their video games is, having friends, and it's really not. Like, you need relationship.
Listen, that's good. Like I think that you honestly you hit that on the head, because I think that a lot of people really get to a point where they're not self-aware enough. They want to talk about that. And like you said, who trusts you? Like I've learned that even in any relationship, and we're talking about dating right now, like relationships kind of like dating like that, but in all your relationships,
mm-hmm.
It gets to a point where if you are walking around on this earth talk about I can't trust anybody, nobody has my back, I can't tell anybody anything, I'm in this world all by myself. And don't get me wrong, we all have things that happen to us, we've all been betrayed, but if you can't have one relationship that you can say or either one relationship other than the dating relationship you're trying to establish, ding ding ding, red flag.
I wish I had a flag to wave. That's definitely up.
You know what? I'm seeking what I could have, because I should have had a flag. I'm really disappointed in myself because I'm really extra sometimes. So, but you know what? This is good. It's good because a lot of times you hear the same advice over and over again, and we say it's not whatever. You hear the same things when we talk about dating, and nobody really talks about these things that are things that you really should be concerned about. And can I just add something to that? I've had people say to me, "You're my everything. I don't need anybody but you. You give me peace. You give me." And I'll be like, that's too much. That's too much. I can't be your.
Yeah, that's too much pressure. That's too much pressure.
Too much pressure. Do you see those memes that's around? Be his peace, sis. No. Stop that. Can we stop that? Can we time out? Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's kill that. I cannot be your peace. I can not bring chaos into your life.
Right.
And purposely operate in my wholeness so that I don't cause your life and our interactions to be toxic, but I will not be your peace.
That's too much. It's too much pressure.
It's too much pressure. That's good. That's good, sis. And I just wanted to expand that one, because I hear that so often. And like you said, it gets to it puts that whole weight of what you have to be to that other person. So that's good. That's good. I like that. Okay, keep going, girl. This is good.
All right, so this is my favorite one. I think that we briefly touched on this in one of your lives that I was on. It was about boundaries. So this is another meme that's going around. Like people people having a big heart is really just a lack of boundaries. And we touched on it. It was basically me saying that, promiscuous people have big hearts, right? Because they don't know how to say no. That's how they end up being promiscuous. And it's just a part of it. Let me just say that.
Okay.
So not having boundaries in relationships is it's a red flag. And that goes into people who are also impulsive, right? Highly sexually aggressive people.
Yeah.
We think that some people think that that's cute, and they kind of want to show that, especially as church folks, we kind of want to show that we're not boring or whatever, but we
Yeah.
kind of lack those boundaries at the same time. So
Yes.
there is a difference between having a big heart and being giving and loving, and then not having any boundaries.
Girl, listen, hold on. We're gonna have to dig into that. Let me put a pin there. I see some a question, and I just want to address that question so that we don't lose it because we're moving so fast. But the boundary one, that's deep. I'm really big into boundaries. I love boundaries, and I think we don't have enough. So that's good. Jasmine, that's my sister. Hey, sis. She has a good question. She said, so you shouldn't bring your mate peace, or rather, your mate can't be a place of peace. She just said she just wanted some clarity. I'm gonna let you answer, and then I'll put my 2 cents in.
Okay, sure. So I love giving really simple answers. So kind of just, if you need more, let me know that you need more. Oh, I'm sorry. She says a lot of feedback when I talk.
I hear a little bit of it. Do you have your computer on too? Like your let's see. Are you on your computer or your phone, Lynn?
I'm on my laptop.
Do you don't have your phone on too, do you?
No.
Maybe you can see if you can turn off mute your volume on your phone real quick.
On my laptop?
On your computer. Let's see if you can't hear. Say something. Okay, and I can't hear you, so you can't do that. I don't know why you have the feedback then. I don't know what that's called.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what maybe I can do? Okay, I got an idea. When you talk, I'm gonna mute my mic because maybe I'm hearing you. So let me try it. Hold on. Now you can talk.
Okay. So to answer Jasmine's question, I would say you can be peaceful, right? But it shouldn't be to the point where they go yes, you're a place of peace, and you're not bringing a whole bunch of chaos and being a bag lady into a relationship. But should you be their place of peace and rest? I am a Christian, right? So I believe in the Prince of Peace, right? So for anything, and I'm married, just want to my husband real quick. So when I need peace, I go to God first, right? And my husband is secondary, but I don't expect him to be my peace. That comes from a higher power, and that is entirely too much. Now, do I expect him to bring me drama and be all crazy and stuff? Absolutely not. But being peaceful, you can absolutely do. Does that answer your question?
Okay, I think that was a great answer, actually. I think that was a really great answer. I'll add a little bit to that. And just from my point of view, when I was saying it, I feel like you absolutely, like she said, when we talk about peace, we already know who the peace giver is. But to be responsible for that person's peace is a different thing. It's a different weight. It's a different burden. And it's too much to be on somebody's shoulder. And so, yeah, and Jazza says exactly, we do the same. Peace comes from God. Yeah. And I think that's where, we just want to make that distinction, because sometimes people believe that it's so pressure to be that peace that it literally requires you to give them something that they're supposed to be internal. I cannot give you something that you're yearning for internally, externally. The fact that you're looking externally for something that you're supposed to get internally is a problem. So that's what I will add to it. So, okay. So that's cool. Yeah. So I think we answered the question. So that was good. Thank you for asking that question. That's a good question, Jess, so we can know the difference between it. But Lynn, I want to go back to, I want to go back to the boundaries one. That's so good. We oftentimes are scared to have boundaries. So, I give definitions of it all the time, but you tell me kind of what you kind of break that down for them, because I think that's going to go over some people's head.
Okay, so boundaries, it's for me, it's what you have in place to protect your relationships with people. That's love relationships and friendships, all kind of those sorts of relationships. But you have to have things in place like when you're offended or lines that people cannot cross. And this was one of those things where some people are just so loving and so giving that they give all of themselves. And I think that they give all themselves all the time. And I think that when you do that and you're giving when you don't have it to give, you are making people a thief, right? They're taking something from you that you don't have it to give. So I think that you need boundaries in place. It's a mental health thing, right? So and that way you don't end up resenting people. Yes, you may want to do it in that moment, but later on you think about it and be like, man, I probably shouldn't have done that. Now you're resentful, right? When you didn't have to be, you could have just said no.
Now that's good. You're bringing a different aspect that I love with the boundaries. Like you said, you're trying to get something that you really don't have. And that I often even say stuff like, you can't pour from an empty cup. You are barely surviving sometimes in your own life, and you're trying to give something to somebody that you really don't have the capacity to give, and it's not, and then you feel like you have to do it, or they're pulling on you for you to do it. And like you said, you're depleted now. You're resentful now because you didn't have it to give in the first place. It's almost like you're borrowing. Like, I'm borrowing some peace to get to you because I know you need it. And now you feel better, but I feel worse. Or I'm here for you in a way where I have, totally stressed myself out, and you are sleeping well at night. And I wasn't even in a position to do that for you. And because I didn't have I say it all the time. If you don't have a no, if you don't know how to have a no, then your yeses are going to be just all over the place. You're going to say, you're not going to mean it. You're going to make yourself a liar because you're going to say, yeah, okay, no problem, I'll do it. And we often say that's, oh, we're selfless, or we love that person, or we're just doing it. And you don't realize you are literally overextending yourself. And I'm going to help y'all out. You're not being a good steward over your own self. You're not being a good steward when you overextend yourself, and you're not being honest when you take on something that you literally are not capable in that moment to do. It is okay to say no. Matter of fact, public service announcement. If you have relationships you don't ever say no in, you got a problem. Lynn, do you agree?
I totally agree. That's definitely a problem. And I would say, if you don't believe me, say no. As a joke, tell them no. See what happens.
Listen,
because they benefit from you not saying no.
Jillian said, will she swear we're talking to her? Listen, you know why, Jillian? Because I've been there. We've all been there. We've all at some point overextended ourselves, or this is something I learned the hard way, but we don't know how to say no because we're afraid of the response. And just like Lynn said, say no and see what happens. They benefit off of the fact that you're scared to say no, whether they know it or not. They might not even be aware. They might not be a user per se, but they are people. You teach people how to treat you. So if you literally don't say no ever, they know. And listen, people know when you overextend yourself. Some people are very unaware, but for most people, they figure out, they don't care. They know you could, oh, she gonna be okay. She all right. Yeah, she look tired, but she'll be cool. Yeah, she said that's the last bit of money, but she always got money. Yeah, they say that they can't do that and they got to do that, but she always figure it out some kind of way. And they expect you to subscribe to the super person.
Yeah. And that goes into my next one when you're ready.
See, here I go. I'm going to hear.
No, that's good. That is absolutely good.
I really I felt that one. People don't even understand how to say a good no. Say no and see how deep your relationship is. And it doesn't mean they don't love you, but let me say this. People will do what you allow them to do. People will do what you let them do. And sometimes you're the enabler to that. You have taught them to do that to you. And so you have to sometimes say no so they understand that that's not okay. So that's a really, really good one. And honestly, it kind of goes into this whole idea of some of our relationships are conditional. And I know y'all don't want to hear that, but some of y'all relationships are conditional. You know, I can name a lot of mine that have been, and because it's almost like we pull back love, or the perception that we pull back love when you don't do something we like, and that's not healthy, and it's a red flag. So it's something that we don't want to get caught up into. Get you a no, for real.
Yes, a strong no. I say a no with the square period, not a circle so it can roll away, but a square period.
For real, get you a no. And not only that, I really believe that you gotta get you a no and practice it. Because the first time I said no, baby, it hurt. I think I cried the first time I said no to somebody I loved. And well, I did, because I felt I let them down. Do you know how much guilt and shame is it to say a no when you're not used to it? You don't realize it, and you have all this stuff poured into that, and it's all mental, but you don't realize these are the constructs of your relationship. So I had to learn it, and it didn't feel right the first time or two or three, and then finally now I'm good. That no rolls off my tongue good. It's like a no, 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 no. No, I'm not gonna be able to do that. Whatever. And it's a complete sentence, baby. That knows I don't even have to explain why. Now, I'm still in the point where sometimes I explain because I love people, but then I know that I don't have to. And you have to be able to sometimes just say no, and that's a complete sentence. Okay, that's a good one, girl. That's a good. Okay, I'm gonna let you go on to the next one. Let me mute myself.
All right, so this next one kind of goes into what Paris was just saying. Someone that's hardworking, outgoing, and overachiever, overly helpful, and a perfectionist, right? All of that. If you go to a therapist and this is how you describe yourself, we're gonna automatically assume that you have high functioning anxiety, right? I myself have suffered from it as well. Absolutely. But that goes back to lack of boundaries. And also it taps into our control issues and our major fear of failure. So this is definitely something you absolutely need to see a therapist about, because you can't work through it on your own. You just absolutely cannot work through it on your own. And this is a perfect, I mean, like somebody that's hardworking, outgoing. When you think about a guy and you want, things that you want on your list, the overachiever, somebody that's helpful, a perfectionist, but you don't realize that their anxiety is at an all-time high, right? Because they're taking on everything and they have to make sure everything is perfect, and they're literally overworking themselves.
I didn't mean to stop you if you was finished going. I just was attesting to it. Okay, well, I wanted to say I raised my hand because I have been all of those. I've been all those. Me, Paris Johnson. Like, and sometimes you pat yourself on the back. Oh yeah, I'm a high achiever. Yes, I work hard. I'm the first one in, the last one out. I help everybody. I'm everybody's rock. I do this, I do that. And you don't even mean to be self-serving. You don't really mean it to be that way. But in your mind, you find value in performing. And so therefore you do have that anxiety, and it is hard because you feel like you always have to be on. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to always be on. You feel like you can't ever let anybody down. And so it doesn't leave space for you to be human. And it's a really hard spot to be in, which is why you see all these memes that say, check on your, strong friend, check on your strong friend, because you build up these, like, I don't know what I want to say. You build up these thrones to where this person is at. Like, oh, they always got it together. They always have it. They always this. And now there's this expectation that's placed on these relationships. And it is a red flag. The crazy part about it is I would have never looked at that as a red flag. I'm like, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But like you said, they're oftentimes overworked. They're exhausted. They are not, they probably always that much close to a break because they have felt the pressures on their shoulder. Like they've had to do it all. I have to be this person and that person. I have to be that. And they're not able to really live and step in and walk in the truth of who they are at the core. That's good. That's good. And then oftentimes you'll find that it's going to impact your relationship, whether you acknowledge it or not, because they're going to have a moment where that collapse, that image collapse. And then they have to deal with, you're going to be dealing with the ruins of that. And so like, you probably do need to get to it. Y'all know how I think about and feel about therapy. It's absolutely necessary. And we have to start talking and taking this stuff seriously so that we can, I think it's not good for us always to say, oh, that's them. They need to figure it out. But I think the reason we're talking about this, me and Lynn, to you all, is that you got to be able to identify it in you too. You can't say it's them.
Absolutely. Sometimes you're the toxic person.
Say it again. Say that one more time, Lynn.
Sometimes you are the toxic person. And it's okay, but you need to get help for it. If any of this is resonating with you and you're like, man, you know what? Maybe I am, maybe I do have high functioning anxiety. It's a real thing. Absolutely. But that also spills into relationships because people have control issues, right? It's not always jealousy and different things like that. It's kind of like what I would call the Jay-Z Beyonce complex, where they got to have the perfect relationship. They want to show everybody their relationship is perfect. That's a lot of anxiety right there.
Hold on. Go raise my hand for this one. The Jay-Z Beyonce, I ain't heard of that one before. The Jay-Z Beyonce, that's so real, especially with social media. It's this idea that I have to let people believe my relationship is perfect. I want you to see this on the outside. Yes, I have, perfect person, mate, the perfect children. I have the perfect career. I did this right. I did that right. And if you don't see me that way, I have a lot of anxiety. I have fear. Or if I've seen it before where somebody posts something about somebody that gets out, some type of scandal or something that's just that they didn't want to know. That's not something they would have shared. I've seen people collapse over this. And I'm just like, okay, what's the big deal? We all have stuff. We all have stuff. And we have to be very careful that we don't, and you know what that is too? People don't want to talk about it, but that's the image. Our pastor has said something about that before too. He said, you have to be willing to not care about how people view you and your stuff. You have to not care, because if you care so much about how people view you, you will legitimately you'll be living in this bubble of expectations that drains you. And the anxiety from that legitimately will have you live in a fraudulent life. And you don't even know how to repair it because you're not even living the life that you're portraying, but you're trying to keep up that image, and it's exhausting. And it does wear and tear in your relationship. And I see it so many times. I get concerned because I really just I really want people to know it's okay. When it's funny, you talked about the Beyonce and Jay-Z, but it's this is just real stuff. But like even with the whole Solange thing, y'all, P had an argument with his sister-in-law. That's real.
It happens. It really does. It happens.
And it's okay. It's okay. It is not something to be embarrassed about. And honestly, let me tell you what I know. Let me tell you, I'm gonna get close. Let me tell y'all something. Transparency is the new sexy. Being real and honest is the new thing. It's, why? Because people want to know that there are problems, but you can make it. I don't always get things right, but I'm still a good person. My mate get on my nerves sometimes, and I tell him to go sleep on the couch. But guess what? Before he go to bed, I'm gonna give him a kiss and put a blanket over him. Like, That's what people need to see, not this pity patty. Oh, we're always good. We don't have issues. We don't have things to go wrong. We don't believe you. And guess what? It don't even matter if we believe you. So stop with the facade. I get so much. I love real people that have real relationships, that have real stuff that's going on. I can relate to them because guess what? I can see that they go through their stuff. And sometimes, you know what, our relationships don't work right because we didn't see conflict resolution with our parents. Oh, that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to go there right now. I'm not necessarily saying me. I'm just saying period. A lot of times we don't let our kids see real stuff. Sometimes they need to see that things don't go right. And this is how we resolved it. And this is a healthy way to do it.
Absolutely.
Come on, go there, because I know I just opened up a Pandora's box. I mean, don't you agree, Lynn?
I totally agree. I think that families don't hide the arguments from the kids, but make sure that when you guys are arguing, that you come to a conclusion. That way, kids can see the natural progression of an argument. Conflict resolution is learned in the home, right? People with anger issues and don't know how to have difficult conversations and accept feedback. All of that starts at home.
Listen, this is getting good because I really feel like I think that even not just talking about dating, but all your relationships, like if we just stop trying to pretend that we have perfect relationships and really just be transparent in what we're going through. I tell people all the time, like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have a bad day. Guess what? I'm not a bad person if I tell you I'm not feeling good today. And I need you to hear me when I say that. And I need you to not make me push past it. I need you to acknowledge what I'm feeling and maybe not sit in it, but at least give me the moment to say that's my reality. And then we're going to work through that process and then we're going to be okay. Give people their moment. Let people sit in their truth. And if you I think that's another thing that we don't talk about. We talk about sometimes when people are not transparent, but we also don't talk about what happens when people are transparent and we talk about them and dog them out.
Oh, that's a whole thing.
I mean, how often do we see scandals where people people can't be human. They say stuff, things happen, and then now we want to have conversations about, oh, I bet you this happened. And it's like, you don't allow people to be human. And that's why people don't want to say nothing. They want to pretend like stuff don't happen because they don't want to be the topic of conversation. They don't want you to pick apart their life. They don't want you to say anything. And that's dangerous. So we have to also be careful in our relationships or even in ours when we talk to somebody. Like I even heard somebody before. Okay, so dating. Let's go back to dating. I've seen it where somebody told me about something in their past, and I remember somebody laughing at that person. What they said, it was something very vulnerable, and they like, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, come on, like. You don't realize, even if you don't want to be with that person, do you get what you did to them? You possibly, depending on where they were in their life, you possibly set them back a little bit. They might not never want to tell anybody anything because you just publicly humiliated them when they were vulnerable. We have to be very careful. Vulnerability is a gift. Okay, that'll preach. That'll preach, girl. Vulnerability is a gift. When somebody exposes themselves to you, and you don't respect it and you don't treat it with care, you better be very careful because that person can close back up and you're going to have something to do with it. You gotta be so super careful. I really don't like it when people don't respect people's vulnerability because that's why people don't open up. This would be a whole nother live, but especially with men, I really have concerns how we do men. We cannot, ladies, y'all hear me? I'm loud enough. Y'all hear me? Let me talk to y'all ladies for a second. Y'all got to stop calling men punks because they cry. Y'all got to stop saying they.
Can I say yes? Little boys too. Let me start there.
Oh, for sure. I think I was addressing the men because believe it or not, we still doing that to men. You emasculating it. You emasculate men when you do that. You emasculate them when you call them sissies, when you call them punks because they show emotions. When you tell them why you crying? Man up. And it starts, and we push that toxic masculinity from a young age. We started at 3 and 2. You know why? When the first time you tell your nephew or niece or your grandchild or your kid to say, don't play with those dolls. Nuh-uh, don't cry. What you crying for? Man up. And they 2. You better leave that boy alone. He can push his sister's stroller if he want to. He's not gonna be like, we gotta stop that. It's like it's time out for that. And we do it, and we wonder why we have a generation of men that don't they are almost emotionally numb. They're emotionally numb because guess what? We didn't give them the freedom to speak. And when they did speak, we mocked them. But y'all don't want us to get into that today. That's gonna be a whole nother lie. Y'all don't want to get us today because we always want to say what
that's deep.
Listen, we always want to talk about what the men do, but this is why we have to be real about what we've added to that conversation. Yes, they need to heal, absolutely. But then you cannot be part of the problem. Okay, y'all, come on. Yep, ladies, I'm talking to y'all. Part of the problem. I think I see only ladies on here right now, but I just still need to say that because we're in a society right now where, the man, the man, and I know they got their problem. They got to figure it out and they're working on it. And it's not all of them, but okay. But we have to be honest too. When they finally do open up to us and be vulnerable, that's a gift. Stop violating the gift that people give to you and then be mad when they never open back up to you and when they're emotionally numb. That'll preach, girl. That'll whole preach.
Let me tell you, it's hard to follow after that. But that was good. That was awesome. I want to give a shout out to my Mako man. It's not a word for it in English, but Naralda, I see you, boo.
Yes, thank you for interacting. I put that up here. She said that's why you show little to no emotions as adults. That's real. That's real. And we have to be very careful about that. You have to be much more self-aware. I don't care. Like y'all words, when we say words don't hurt, sticks and stones may break our bones word, that's a lie. That's the biggest lie. I don't know who said that. It's a stupid lie. It's a stupid lie. And I'm being loud about it because I need you to give that. I understand that your words, baby, somebody will forget what whole years of their life, but they'll remember one phrase you said to them. And they're going to remember it because they remember how it made them feel.
Yeah, and people be in counseling talking about that. It'll be something that somebody said in 3rd grade, like made a comment on their weight, or this is something that they don't forget.
Because you don't forget how it made you feel. That's why. Because that moment, those words you said impacted me, and I'm carrying that. And so much so, I tell people a lot of times, you have this voice sometimes, and you echo it. And sometimes people don't realize they echo that voice of criticism from when they was 3 or when they was 5 or 6. Can you believe that? Or something somebody said to you, they called me darky, and ever since then I hated my skin complexion, and I just never, and you be like, when did that happen? But see, and you don't realize it frames so much of your life. That's why we have to get whole. That's why we have to be honest, and then we have to be careful with our mouth. I mean, I don't like to talk a whole bunch about, my spirituality or God or whatever. But I do believe, whether you believe in God or not, or the creator, life and death is in your mouth. You have to be careful with what you say. You have to be careful. It's not just you saying stuff. It's real. And honestly, people hold stuff together, and you might have said something out of anger. And that person legitimately, listen, I know people that's feuding for over 20 years because somebody said. Okay, this thing keep going on. I act like I'm busy or something, but I mean, for real, like legitimately, I know people, siblings that feuding because of something that was said years ago. That's how important it was. So yeah, we're not perfect. We're gonna make mistakes, and then when you find out about that type of stuff, you just try to apologize and heal from it. But going forward, let's be very careful about how we use our mouth. You say your tongue is a weapon. And so it can be a weapon. I always like to tell people, I said it's a weapon or it could be a blessing. Literally, I believe people can speak positivity into your future that launches you forward, or they can go ahead and cut you down and take you back and literally cause you to have a complex. And now you're echoing that very thing that they said. So this is a good conversation. This is good. Lynn, oh, did you have any more points? Because I know I'm just talking all through your points.
Yes, I can go through them really quick because these are just the really basic ones. Inconsistency, right? It's people will mask inconsistency as being free spirited, or, I just go with the flow. And, it's like you need something that's consistent in your life, right? A plan, what's your purpose, right? You could be free spirited, but you need to have a purpose, and you shouldn't be masking that as just let's just go with the flow type of thing. It's like, no, you need a plan, right? A strategic plan. Impulsivity. That's something that people like. You call it spontaneous, but when people are impulsive, it's usually under the guise of lust, right? So they're lusting after something. You just have to figure out if you want to be a part of that. Here's another couple pair. Stop me if you want to give your 2 cents. When things are peaceful, they're bored, right? So they don't know how to meditate. They don't know how to calm their mind and their thoughts. They get bored. That's always a red flag. Usually it comes from having a childhood that's full of chaos. So you feel like something has to always be going on. And honestly, people like this, you'll find them into some sort of trouble, right? They're always into something, doing something they got no business doing. The opposite of that, I shouldn't say the opposite. Something that goes with that is overstimulation. When I see people who just constantly, I call them addicted to drama, right? So people who they're constantly on 10, something's always going on in their life. They're always doing something, always off to something. That overstimulation, and you're like, when do you rest? When you turn your brain off, that's a red flag, like flag on that. But people like that. I noticed that more so guys like that in women. But when I see people like that, my first thought is, oh my God, they're having a manic episode, right? Now that's extreme, but that's my first thought. Or they're getting ready, to have a manic episode, because you have to calm down. You cannot keep your brain on 200 all the time. You just can't.
Now I want to speak to that. I did want to speak to that. I saw that on the paper, and I really thought that was going to be your first one. That one is so real. How often do you have somebody that doesn't know how to sit still, doesn't know how to? It's just always, and like you said, it does feel, especially when it's at the high extreme level, it does feel manic, and you can't operate there all the time. You can't just be there at all times. And not only that, but it's like, what trauma happened in your life that you didn't really address that caused you to not be? It's a lack of peace. It's I used to, how they used to say it back in the day. You couldn't sit down with yourself, like you can't just be right there with you. Like I still know people to this day that can't. Y'all tell me in the comments, is there still people out here that can't go to eat by themselves? Y'all let me know. Are there still people that can't go out to eat by themselves or go to the movies by themselves? Because I'm not here to talk about you. What I will say is that's something you have to be careful with, because it becomes a thing of, you always need somebody to entertain you. You always need to have somebody. You can't sit with yourself. Jillian, I appreciate your honesty. You say you've never done it, but you know what? That's okay. But I'm trying to stretch you into a different atmosphere to realize that most than likely that's a response to something that's happened in your life where, and I'm no therapist yet, but I think that is a response to not necessarily being comfortable with silence, of just being with yourself. It definitely is something that should be looked at. I'm not necessarily saying it's the worst thing in the world, but I know people that be like, oh, I really want to go eat this and I want to try, but don't want nobody go with me. And I'd be like, why don't you go yourself? I mean, I I really legitimately be confused. But I think what it is, and I remember the first time I went out to a bar and went to get something to eat and have something to drink by myself. And it makes you feel weird. It's almost society makes it look like you're the lonely one. They'll even point it out in movies. Look at that person sitting by themselves. And so now it's this societal thing that makes you lonely. And like, that's a whole nother thing. We can do a whole nother live about singles, that we act like being single is the plague. Okay. We act like you a whole leper if you single. We'll do a whole nother live about that. Like I'm sick of it. Okay, guys, y'all know I'm super sick of it. But and the idea that you just you can't be happy if you're not, and it's funny that you said manic. It's just it's important that you can see it that way. Some people can't even see it. They can't even think about what's manic. But yeah, that's a real thing. That's a whole real thing. And I feel like you said it'll take some time. I don't want to butcher her name. Narada. Is that a Narada? Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Take the time to regroup and restore you. It's necessary. People think I'm an extrovert, and I don't know if I want to call myself extrovert, but I will say I do love people. But baby, I love time with me. I honestly take that time to regroup, restore, pour back into me. Quiet time charges my battery. It legitimately does. So when I know people that don't ever have time alone, I just be like, well, what is your brain like? What do you do? How do you, legitimately, how do you come back to normal? How do you calibrate? Or do you not calibrate? And are you always at extremes? That's a whole nother question, right?
Yeah, when people are afraid to be by themselves and with themselves, that is always a red flag, because I'm like, if you don't enjoy your company, how do you expect somebody else to? Right?
Well, somebody else said that. They said, if you don't like being around you, why should I? I thought that was funny. They said, if you don't like being around you, why would I like it? I'm like, well, that's a good question. Why would you like to be around me? Or somebody said, it's like, if you always need to be entertained. And I thought that was so good. And I said, oh, wow. I never thought of it like that. They said, yeah, I'm not here to entertain you. Like, you need to be able to be okay with you. Can you sit with you? And I'm like, that's so good. So this is some good stuff. Did you have any more points, Lynn?
Just a few. This is something that people are going to flip out over, but I'm a firm believer in it. Bad diet, right? This is because people don't realize that the food that you eat, it actually controls your moods, right? So when you see people with highs and lows, check their diet. Check their diet. See what they're eating. And I just had some other stuff on here. Depression is often overlooked, especially in people of color. Overuse of alcohol and drugs, that screams bad coping skills, right? Narcissism, that's something that's really, really popular, but the real type of narcissism, we don't even cover. We just cover the cute kind. That's why I call it a cute kind of narcissism. Paper clipping. That's like the new form of ghosting, when people bounce, they'll clip you here, let's say, and then it won't pop back up to the new year. Nothing ain't happened. But if you're dating people who don't want to talk to you on a consistent basis, that's a flag. And the victim mentality. If you're going through their resume, their dating resume, and they can't take responsibility for the things that they did in the past relationships, that is a huge one. But yeah, so that was really it. That's what I wanted to cover. Thank you so much, Paris, for allowing me here. And I would definitely tell people, if any of this resonated with you, find a therapist, and don't neglect the therapy interns. They're just as qualified. The only thing is that they require therapists to have so many hours before they get licensed, but they're definitely qualified. So I would say find an intern if you can't afford like a regular therapist, but if you can, please do. And I don't want to get into people, how people spend their money and how people budget, but mental health is important. Absolutely important.
Lynn, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming. I attempted to post a link. I think you did all type of stuff. I don't know what that looked like. I'm sorry, y'all, if that don't go to anything. If not, I'm gonna post a screenshot of it onto the page afterwards. Okay. I tried to comment the link, but this has been a great conversation. I I absolutely. First of all, I love it. Jill said, Lynn, I'll be messaging you to recommend somebody for me. That's awesome. You know what?
Yes,
If we
so
listen, you know what? That's what I listen. One person at a time. If you can say, you know what? I see some of these things in me. Let me go ahead and see what I can do to like make a better version of me. Man, kudos. Because I think people are not honest enough to be that vulnerable and say, hey, I want to be the best version of me possible. So I listen, y'all know how I feel about therapy. I feel like everybody needs to invest. I don't care. You be a nice Lynn. Y'all need to go ahead and get some therapy because I promise you, you don't have to be quote unquote broke. I think people need to be honest. There's no such thing as you're not needing it. I think we all can use it. Matter of fact, I think therapy is a tool, just like you use as your doctor. I go and get an annual visit, or I go and get checkups for stuff. You need to get a checkup. You need to go. Somebody said something really good when I had another psychiatrist on here. She was saying, hey, she believes that people should go when they have major transitions in life. And I'm like, that's good. You know, it's like a maintenance. And I think that's awesome. And so
absolutely.
I really enjoyed this conversation. You will definitely be back on. Like, no doubt about it. We could just talk. But I think it was a good conversation. Thank you guys for being interactive. Thank you all to come on and to be, just in this conversation. Thank you all for just lending your ear. I'm gonna get off. This one is a little lengthy, but I just think it was necessary. So like I always end, I always say that I want you all always to know you are enough. I'm gonna say it every single time till you believe it. You know why? Because I don't think enough of you all really do believe it. Y'all hear it, it's cliche, but you don't really believe it. So I'm gonna say it till you do. I'm gonna say it because you're enough for you to actually into these things, become more self-aware and be the best version of you. You're worth it. You're worth that investment. So and you're enough for me to love you. If don't nobody else say it, I love you. I promise you I do. Lynn says she love you too. And you're enough for God to love you. He always does. Always. That's I like that too. And so I will see you guys on Thursday at 6 p.m. I have some exciting, I have a giveaway I'm doing next week. I'll put some more notes about it throughout the week. I'm going to give away some cool prizes before Christmas. I'm going to give away some shirts. Guys, don't forget to go onto my page. Can y'all see my shirt? Okay, see, it's not going right. Anyway, this is one of my shirts, the one that says you are enough. And what's crossed out, just so you know, is that too much, extra, lacking, and not worthy. I did that on purpose because I need you guys to know you don't have to subscribe to any of those things people ever said about you. You don't have to subscribe to it. You are enough, period. That's all. And so you can go on parispjohnson.com and you can go ahead and buy one of my shirts. If you guys are local to Chicago, I will deliver it for you for free. And I'm extending, if anybody really wants to get the 3 shirts, you guys still get the 3 for $50 up until Christmas. I'm gonna put that out as well, just so people know, you know what? I believe this is a gift of confidence. It's not about me selling shirts. This is about you realizing that, you know what? Until you really get it, you need to say it. You need to see it. You need to put it out in the atmosphere because I want us all to be healthy. So I love you all. Thank you, Lynn, again. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Y'all
Love
have
you
a good day.
guys.
I'm going to log on out here.